Welcome to uWrench. Today we're going to be taking a look at this scanner that's been kindly supplied to us for review by XTOOL. This is the XTOOL IP900. So first of all, with the IP900, it's very important not to confuse it with the IP900S. Now, although both those models do look physically identical, the IP900S is a considerably more expensive model than what we have here with the IP900. And both of those scanners have a very similar specification, so it could well be that the best value option is the IP900, as we'll see later in the video. Additionally, if you've done any research on scanners, there's no question you would have come across XTOOL's D7S, which is one of their best known and best-selling scanners. And the IP900 competes extremely strongly against the D7S, and we'll definitely be exploring that and comparing the two as we go along. So first of all, the big factor that everyone wants to know, let's talk price. So for the IP900, I couldn't find it currently available on Amazon. However, the best price is on the XTOOL website. Current price is $439. And additionally, we have secured an exclusive discount code with XTOOL. And so for any order on their website, if you enter the code uWrench10%, you automatically receive 10% discount. So that would take the price on our IP900 down from $439 to $395. And so that's definitely cheaper than this unit's bigger brother, the IP900S. And on the IP900S, you can currently pick that unit up on Amazon, and after you've applied a $50 coupon, it takes it down to $679. Or better still, that unit is currently $669 on the XTOOL website, and you can use that same discount code. So that will take the IP900S down to $602. And so the price difference between our IP900 and the IP900S is a little bit over $200. And so when we compare that against something like XTOOL's best-selling D7S, that unit can currently be purchased on Amazon at $389 after applying a $30 coupon. And again, that is a little bit cheaper on the XTOOL website, $379, and if you use that discount voucher, $341. And so with a price difference of just $54 between the IP900 and the D7S, we can clearly see that they're definitely in the same ballpark with regards to pricing. But does the IP900 actually offer any advantages over the D7S and indeed over its own bigger brother, the IP900S? So first of all, and very importantly, what protocols does this unit support? So first up, this unit does support CAN-FD, which is pretty much essential for scanners these days, and all three of the scanners that we'll be talking about in this video do have CAN-FD as standard. And then we're moving on to DOIP, which is essential if you're going to be doing a lot of work on much newer cars, especially more involved jobs. And DOIP means Diagnostic over Internet Protocol, which means essentially that you do have to have an internet connection to run diagnostics on some of these newer cars. And thankfully, when it comes to DOIP, all three models feature that too. And finally, the IP900 is also equipped with FCA, which stands for Fiat Chrysler Automobiles. And this was a secure gateway system that was introduced in 2018. And again, it's pretty much essential if you're going to be working on newer cars from manufacturers such as Jeep, Chrysler or Dodge. So when it comes down to protocols, all three of those scanners are perfectly equal. However, of course, these three scanners are not identical and they do have differences, and we're going to be exploring that a little bit later on in the video. And if you are interested in buying yourself an IP900 or indeed the IP900S or the D7S, then we will be adding links into the video description below, both for Amazon and the official XTOOL website. And don't forget that for the absolute best price available, we do have that exclusive discount code for the XTOOL website. So simply enter uWrench10% during checkout and you automatically get that 10% off, and that applies for any order on their website, not only the three scanners that we're looking at today. And so if this video turns out to be helpful for you, could you please help support us in return? Please be sure to click on our links. So what do we get when we buy the IP900? Well, first of all, as you can see, it does come in a very smart retail box, inside which you'll find we have a black blow molded hard case. And then inside the box we have the main communication cable, which is finished in red and black. And we also have the OBD2 adapter finished in the same colour scheme. And the IP900 is fitted with an 8-inch screen, which has a 1024 by 768 resolution. And this unit comes fitted with a 5000 mAh battery as standard. And it also comes with 64 gigabytes of storage. And for the processor, we have a quad-core processor running at 1.5 GHz under Android 10. And on the rear of the unit, you'll find that we do have a built-in camera. And additionally, we do have a built-in kickstand, both of which can be really handy. And when it comes to construction, the body of the IP900 is plastic, complete with some very sturdy rubber grips on both sides. And the unit is supplied with the standard XTOOL 1-year warranty, and also includes 3 years of free updates. When it comes to vehicle coverage, XTOOL claimed that this is compatible with over 10,000 models. So now we know a little bit more, let's get this switched on and set up. So when we first switch the unit on, we're presented with the XTOOL logo, which takes us through to their welcome screen. And next we need to confirm our language preference. And then we're straight on to network setup. So simply choose the network you want to use, enter your Wi-Fi password and click next. And you need to confirm the language again, so just click next. And then next you need to log into your XTOOL account. If you don't already have one, there's an option there to create a new one. And it will then show you that you've logged in successfully, and also how many days you have remaining on your current subscription. So then click Start Now. And now we're on to the main XTOOL page. And we can see straight away that it's telling us there are 183 updates available. So let's ensure that everything's definitely up to date before we use the scanner and get those installed. So let's click on Updates. And here we can see the full list of available updates. And you can either pick and choose which ones you want to install, or better still, just hit the Update All button. Now it can often take a little while to get all of those updates installed, so you will need to be a little bit patient the first time you use the unit. But now we're completely up to date, let's go ahead and get it hooked up to the car. So to get started, we'll need to connect the end of the cable to the scanner. And then we'll also need to connect the other end to our OBD2 port. And this is usually located under the dash on the left-hand side of the car. Then you'll need to put the key in and switch the ignition to position 2, which is the one before starting the engine. And it's also a good idea to switch off anything that's likely to drain the battery, such as your heater panel and the radio. So our scanner's now ready, so let's take a look at some of the basic functions. So let's make a start with the auto scan option. It will then give you options for possible matches to the VIN, and in our case it's a Chrysler, so we'll click that. It will then confirm the vehicle details including the VIN. So next we'll click the automatic scan option, and the scanner will go ahead and scan through all of the available modules looking for fault codes. And as you can see, we do have quite a few fault codes, but we were expecting this because the battery on this car has been disconnected for several days. So now we can take a look over the faults. And if you want any additional information on any of the faults, just click the arrow icon and it will expand the fault to show the fault code and also the description. And as you can see, ours are all related to the low voltage on our battery. And you can also click on any of the diagnostic buttons, and that will take you directly to that particular module for further actions or control. And we'll be taking a look at those module sections in just a moment in more detail. So we'll click back for now. So we've now completed our basic scan, but before we do anything else, it's a good idea to save the report. So we'll click on the DTC report button, and here we can add any details that we want and then click on save, which is then confirmed that it's saved successfully. And additionally, you can click on the DTC list button, and this will show you a list of just the faults that were found, so you don't have to click and expand on each one from the main scan results page. So we'll now hit exit and come back to the report. And once you finish the work that you need to do, or in our case to clear these low voltage codes, we can simply click on the Clear All DTCs button. And the scanner will go ahead and do precisely that. And we're still left with one code, which is for a low battery in our key fob. And we're fine with that for now. So now let's exit the automatic scan and go back to the home page. And this time we'll click on Diagnostic. And here we can see the complete list of manufacturers that this scanner is able to control. And this is the list of European manufacturers, and you can see that we do have quite extensive coverage for Europe. And you can also click on Asian manufacturers and American, and there's also Chinese and Australian. And we're working on American cars today, and we're in a Chrysler. And you can either use auto scan or input manually. So let's say we wanted to do it manually. So we put the vehicle year in, which is 2013. And these are the available options. And this car is a town and country. And here are the options. And here we have the pre and post scan, which does exactly the same scanning process as the auto scan did earlier. But it is geared towards running scans both before and after doing the job. So either you or the customer can see precisely what's changed between the scans. So we can go ahead and exit. So next we'll look at system selection, and this shows us all of the different modules that could be fitted to our vehicle that this scanner should be able to access. Now it's important to realise that not all of these modules may apply to your particular vehicle. For example, we have a memory seats option listed, which this car does not have. So when we click on it, our scanner of course cannot communicate with that module because it simply doesn't exist. But these are all the modules that are available for this vehicle, but remember you may not have all of these options fitted to your particular car. So let's have a look at the front left door module as an example. And we can read and clear our DTC codes direct from this module, just like we did in the auto scan. And additionally what we have here is the actuation test. And this allows us direct access to the bidirectional controls. For example, let's look at our window control, and across the bottom here we have down and up with different intervals. So if we wanted to test our window motor, just press the down 2.5 seconds, which of course puts our window down. And likewise we can put it back up. So a simple test like that allows us to bypass the window switch and access the motor directly. So if our window had stopped working, this would help us to know if the motor was faulty or if it was actually the switch or possibly the wiring. And whilst we're here, let's take a quick look at live data. And here you can see that we have the current window motor state, which is inactive. But if I were to manually press my window switch, we can see it changed to manual up. And further down the list it's telling us that the driver's door is ajar, which it is. And if I close it, the status changes to closed. Another example, we have the turn signals here. So there's quite a lot we can play around with in our bidirectional controls. Next up, within the Read System Configure. This allows us to read the system configuration. And this shows us what options you actually have fitted. And so this will tell you if you will be able to access some of those modules. For example, it's clearly saying that we don't have folding mirrors on this car, which we don't. So let's take a look at another example quickly, this time in the heat, ventilation and AC module. And let's look in System Check to test our system. And then we'll choose Front Blower State. And it tells us the blower is on low. Click OK and it switches to high. And another really nice option here is being able to view live data. So I can look through the list and tick main left selected temperature and right selected temperature. Then click Custom, then Chart. And then we can see our current temperatures. And as I manually adjust the temperature on this side, you can see that it goes up and back down. And likewise, of course, we can do exactly the same on the other side. And within the central gateway section, we can run similar actuation tests for various components. So let's do the right low beam, which you can switch on and off, as well as toggle. And we can also do the same for our fog lights, and also exactly the same for our horn. So this shows us the most basic principles of some of the bidirectional controls. And these can be super useful when it comes to tracking down those annoying faults. If you wanted an example of a more complex module, let's take a look at the powertrain module. And just look at how many options we potentially have under the Read System Configuration. And our actuation test section likewise starts to become much more complex, with lots more options available to help resolve the particular problem you're working with. So we've barely scratched the surface really on what this scanner is capable of. It has many hundreds, if not thousands, of variations of functions available. But hopefully this basic overview will give you an idea of how things work. Next up in the report section, you can find your previous reports that you have saved. And you can go ahead and view these reports and either print them or send them via email. And you do have to input the email address the first time, but it does save it for you for the next time you want to send one. So next, let's look quickly at the functions section. And this is where the 38 maintenance functions come in. And what we have here is a generic list of common and useful processes. However, it's important to note that not all of these will necessarily be available for the particular car you're working on, because it will depend entirely on what options and modules your car has fitted. And so these are essentially simply shortcuts to functions which we already have within the module sections. So there's nothing here that we can't access from within the individual modules, just as we've shown. So this is essentially a shortcut section. And of course, sometimes shortcuts can be really useful, but you'll most likely want to access the modules manually once you get familiar with the scanner. And then we have the More section right here, and we can go ahead and view or edit our information and also check our subscription status. And we also have other options for installing optional app updates here as well. And the remote control button takes us to the TeamViewer Quick Support. So if you ever need online assistance from XTOOL, that's the place to go. And moving on to settings, and we do have a decent amount of options here, including language, units of measurement, USB connection mode, sound and display levels, and about this unit. And finally, we have the XTOOL button, which takes you directly to the XTOOL website, so it gives you instant access to the web browser. And so that covers some of the basic functions, and hopefully you can get a bit of a feel for the scanner. And as mentioned, we're really only scratching the surface of what the IP900 is capable of doing. But hopefully you can get a feel for just how it works and how extensive these options can be. And if you do need to check for specific functionality, then please be sure to check out the XTOOL website. So now you have a basic understanding of how this unit works and some of the cool stuff that you can do with it. But of course there are a huge number of different scanners to choose from, and I have no doubt that you'll probably want to know just how this compares to the IP900S, which is a considerably more expensive unit, and also the best-selling D7S, which is priced very similarly to this unit. So first of all, the IP900 and IP900S are physically identical, and they are physically larger than the D7S. This allows us to have a larger screen size. We have 8 inches here compared to 7 on the D7S. Additionally, to go with the larger screen, we do have a slightly improved resolution, 1024 by 768 compared to 1024 by 600 on the D7S. Now the IP900 definitely has a tougher and more industrial feel to it. On the D7S we do have what feels like a rubberized plastic grip on either side that does have quite a fine ingrained pattern. Whereas on the IP900 we have these far more substantial rubber grips complete with these built-in grip lines. And so overall the IP900 definitely feels like a more serious and more substantial piece of kit when you have it in hand. And one of the features that we really like on these XTOOL scanners is the simple fact that they don't try and hide the fact that what we have here is essentially a flashy version of an Android tablet. In fact, you can swipe up from the bottom of the screen, just hit the home button like you would on any tablet, and it will take you straight through to the standard Android environment. And so then you can use it just like any standard Android tablet, including installing whatever apps you wish to. Whereas many other manufacturers prefer to hide the Android system entirely with their own operating system. So having the unit as an open Android tablet definitely makes it feel more open, accessible and usable. Now there is one point that potentially makes the IP900 a better buy than the D7S. And this comes down to the simple fact that this unit has 38 maintenance services inbuilt compared to 36 on the D7S. And so in theory this unit should be able to do just a touch more than the D7S, so that should be said that the specs do look extremely close on paper. And so what about the big brother of this unit, the IP900S? Well, this is where things get very interesting and might actually prove what a bargain the younger brother actually is. When it comes to differences between these two models, first of all, of course, we have the price. The IP900S is a good $200 to $300 more expensive than this. Now it should be said that we do get a much bigger case with the IP900S, and that case is loaded with various adapters and cables, which makes it a perfect choice for workshops that are going to be working on lots of different makes and models of cars constantly, day in and day out. And additionally, although the IP900 and the IP900S do have almost identical specification, we do have one major feature boost on the IP900S, and that is topology, which we do not have on the IP900. And that can be a really useful feature when it comes to diagnostics, and also that's not something we normally find on inexpensive scanners under $1,000. And so that extra $200 to $300 might actually be quite a safe investment if you see value in those two factors. So overall, what we have here, the IP900 is definitely a very capable scanner. And yes, when you do your research, you'll find at this kind of price level, there is a huge array of different scanners to choose from, including, of course, XTOOL's very own D7S, which has been a hugely successful scanner and the successor to the already popular D7. However, with the IP900, it does bring that little bit extra to the table and definitely has a more industrialized feel to it without any extra expense. So the bottom line is both the D7S and also the IP900 are excellent scanners. And if the D7S is already on your radar, then you should definitely also take a look into the IP900. And we have also done a full review video for XTOOL's D7S, and so we'll add a link to that video in the video description for you in case you want to check that out. And speaking of links, please don't forget that we will have those links for both Amazon and the official XTOOL website in the video description. And if you are going to be ordering on the XTOOL website, please remember that we do have that discount code UWrench10%. If you have that during checkout, it will apply 10% discount to your order and help ensure that you're getting the absolute best price possible. And you should find it's even cheaper than Amazon. And so if you found this video to be helpful at all and you do want to buy one of these units, then please be sure to help support what we do here at UWrench. Please be sure to click on our links. So thank you very much for joining us here at UWrench. Now before you leave, we always ask you take 1 second out of your busy schedule. At the very least, please be sure to hit that like button for us. And whilst you're there, also please consider subscribing. We do have hundreds more videos on our channel just waiting for you to check out. And if you really want to help support us, please don't forget those Amazon links. So thanks for watching, we'll see you again.